Hey crew, so we're in the legendary campaign once again, because you know me, I like to test my builds in difficult content to see how they hold up, so you know in easy content it's just game over. Well, this absolute tank of a build for the Stasis Hunter does just that. As you can see, we jump straight into the enemies head on, and we don't even care that there is a boss, shielded boomer knight, cursed thrall. None of it even matters because we are stacking so much resistance, so much healing, and overshields with this build that turn the Stasis Hunter into a much better endgame pick now than it ever was before. This build is also giving most of that resistance to your fire team members as well, and just think if you had 3 hunters running this together. The entire battlefield would be covered in these new traveler-sized dust fields, so now we have a couple options with the Invis Void Hunters becoming so strong with Void 3.0, and also this great stasis build that you can play with and tweak to fit whatever you're trying to accomplish in Destiny 2. And I want to show this short clip right here, and we're not building into having a million dust fields out, we're building into more resistance, healing, and overshields, because as you can see, we can have a dust field and a half up at all times. So we can cover pretty much all the area we need to cover solo, and that's just solo, that's not even with the fire team. So that's why we're building into resistance, healing, overshields, so we can do this in hard endgame content. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then make sure to hit that subscribe button for me as we make that push for 100K on the channel, which would absolutely be awesome. I will be streaming live over on Twitch when this video goes live for quite a few hours, so come on over and say hi. And if you want to get this awesome Long Live the Queen emblem that you see on screen here, all you have to do is make sure your Twitch account is linked with Bungie, and then give 2 subs while I'm live, and it's completely yours. Also, there is some great rewards if you don't know about Amazon Prime. Link your Amazon Prime account with your Twitch account, and you get the Hardlight exotic weapon, an ornament, another cool emblem, and then also Prime is a free way to sub to channels, and you can sub with free for Prime to help out any streamer. So that's also a nice way to support. If you guys could let this video play out once until the end, that would go such a long way in helping the channel out. So for my regular viewers, thank you so much for doing that. It means a lot. Now you want to be running Gambler's Dodge, because when you dodge near an enemy, you get another Withering Blade, a Shuriken as I call it, back. So that's just extra damage, and Shurikens are very strong in PvE. Also, you want to be running Dustfield Grenade, a grenade that shatters on impact, leaving behind a field that slows targets and freezes those who do not leave the volume. So make sure you have Dustfield Grenade on. This build is all built around Dustfield Grenades. For our aspects, we're using Touch of Winter. What this does is for our Dustfield Grenade, it increases the slow field size and creates a small stasis crystal on impact. So kind of a mini crystal in the middle of it. And you can have 2 fragment slots with this aspect. Now we're also running Grim Harvest. Defeating slowed or frozen combatants creates a stasis shard. These shards grant melee energy when picked up by you and your allies. So we're getting a bunch of melee energy back from these shards for our shurikens, and then this allows us to have 3 fragment slots. So we have a total of 5 fragments here for the subclass. Whisper of Shards is our first one and one of the most important. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. We get a +10 resilience. When we shatter that crystal inside the small dust field grenade, we get a 5-second timer on the left hand side that is boosting our grenade regen by a lot. We also have Whisper of Rime. Collecting a stasis shard grants a small amount of overshield, which falls off after 10 seconds. Collecting more can increase that overshield. If you're low on health, this also heals you. Instead of giving you an overshield, it instantly heals you. Very important. We have Whisper of Chains. While you are near frozen targets or friendly stasis crystals, you take reduced damage from targets, +10 recovery. We're near frozen people all the time. We're near our own crystal we create. So a great one, and I believe this is a 40% damage reduction. I mentioned this in my last video. I thought it was 25%. I'm pretty sure it's 40%. People said in the comment that it was buffed last season with the 30th anniversary to 40%. So I'm going to take their word for it. We have Whisper of Durance. Slow from your abilities lasts longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase. This is a +10 strength, and this makes our dust field last another 5 seconds on the ground pretty easily. And then we have Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your positions. We get a +10 resilience and a +10 intellect here. The stasis shards track to us, so we don't have to worry about picking them up, and they come right to us to give us that melee energy, to give us health if we're weak, and to give us overshield if we're on full health. So that's basically what you'd be running. You can trade a couple of these out if you want. Like if you're doing easier content, you don't need Whisper of Chains or something like that, go for it. But this is for end game survivability and making the dust field last longer, for resilience, for grenade recharge rate, for overshields, healing, and picking up those stasis shards without having to go to the stasis shards. Now for our weapons, one of the most important weapons you want to be using here is something with land tank. This is very important. So basically on land take here, the origin trait is final blows with this weapon grant increased resilience and additional damage resistance from combatants. This is like a +15% resilience, and a plus 15 resist or something kind of big like that, like plus 15 resist when you kill enemies, and this stacks up to 3 times, but you can easily be killing 2 or 3 enemies with one shot with a wave frame grenade launcher. This is what I use in all the gameplay you see, and it does a lot of different things. It kills all the frozen targets very easily. It also shatters our stasis crystal for us to give us regen. This also procs one of our mods, Explosive Well Maker, because this explosive damage from the wave frame, from the solar wave frame, spawns that solar well for us, which is huge. This also has turnabout, using this weapon to break any shield on a combatant. This can be solar, arc, or void, grants you a complete overshield, which is crazy. And we also have auto loading holster on it, so we can just put it away and it'll load by itself. And I really want to get a enhanced trait version of all this for you guys and do a breakdown on that. But I haven't gotten lucky with the frames yet, so we'll see how that goes. In my primary, I'm also running an Eye as Luna with Unrelenting and Headstone. Just one so I can spawn extra crystals if need be, but it's definitely not needed. And Unrelenting for the healing, again, not technically needed, but it just adds that much extra to the build. So really, in your primary and your heavy, you can run kind of whatever you want. But for my secondary, I chose that because it just does 2 things. It makes us even more tankier with land tank, and it gives us overshields and spawns solar wells. So it does a lot. On our helmet here, we're running Elemental Shards. This one's pretty important. Stasis Shards can as Stasis Elemental Wells for you. So all those shards we're creating count as Elemental Wells. And then we also have Rapid Weapon Final Blows with the damage matching your subclass, create an orb of power, so we can get a couple extra orbs of power. And then also from the artifact, we have Psionic Forging. Increase the duration of land tank origin trait, so it even lasts longer for that resistance to enemies. For our exotic here, we're using Renewal Grass. These are a new exotic with Witch Queen this season, and their armor perk here is Depths of Duskfield. Your Duskfield grenades have a much larger effect radius, allies inside the Duskfield take reduced damage, and targets inside the area deal reduced damage. This one exotic is doing so much. It's making our Duskfields that much bigger on the field. It also makes our Stasis Crystal in the middle bigger, so it's one big crystal instead of a mini crystal. It also takes reduced damage to us when we're standing inside of it, and enemies do reduced damage to us. So it's kind of 2 different buffs at the same time. A buff to us to our how much damage we take, and then a debuff to the enemy for how much damage they deal to us. And we're also rocking Fawn of Might with this, picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type, grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage, and we're grabbing those elemental shards that count as a well. So that's why we're using a Stasis primary. You could even go with a Stasis heavy if you wanted, or you could run Aegir Scepter with this build. There's a lot of different options you could do here, so just to put that out there. We're also running Grenade Kickstart, definitely not needed. You can take those off and put on Champions mod if you choose to do so. On our class item, we're rocking Explosive Well Maker. Rapidly defeating combatants with explosive damage spawns a solar elemental well. Now, explosive damage, when your crystal shatters and kills 2 or more enemies, that's explosive damage and it will spawn a well. When you throw your shurikens and shatter like 2 different enemies and they explode and die, that will spawn a solar well. When you shoot off your grenade launcher and kill 2 or more enemies, that will spawn a solar well. So a bunch of different ways to spawn solar wells with this build. And then we're also throwing on thermo shock plating here for extra damage resistance and some concussive dampeners. On our booth, we're running Well of Life. And the reason we're running Well of Life is because picking up a solar elemental well grants increased regeneration for a short period of time. This is a 10-second timer of constant healing. And so on our class item, what we're running is Elemental Time Dilation. This lets Well of Life last another 5 to 6 seconds longer, and it also lets your Fawn of Might last 5 to 6 seconds longer. So I hope you guys find this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a build that if for whatever reason I need to be off Void 3.0 in the raid, I will try this build out because it is that strong. Weapons might change around, but as far as everything else goes within the build, it is that good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next one, and I hope to see you all over on Twitch. Have a great rest of your day.